Time for episode 1, choosing the right app. As developers, you kind of struggle. You usually have like a list of apps that you want to create. And I'm no different. I have a list right here in front of me of all these apps that I've wanted to create for years. When you're creating an app, there's like this whole, like you want it to be something successful in one way or another. So you want it to either succeed by money or by just improving your relationship with that market, or just giving you more knowledge in that market. Maybe your goal is that you don't have a full-time iOS job and you just want to get noticed, so you're creating one. I mean, that worked for me. I wasn't actually looking for it at the time, but that's how I got started like 10 years ago. Was I created an app on my own, and it just led to contract work that then led to full-time work. And I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. There's that quote that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I don't agree with that at all, but I think if you love what you do, you don't work as much. Because it's not exactly like work, but there are those days where you got to do stuff that you just don't want to do, or you hit a problem and then it's work. Like it's hard and it's annoying and it's frustrating. You get past those and then you get back to it's joyful. As a developer, like you go through these highs and lows. Like when you're trying to figure out a bug and you can't figure it out, you feel like you're basically the stupidest person in the world. And then like it can be within like 2 minutes or 2 weeks, however long it takes to fix that bug. But once you fix it, then you're like, I'm a genius. And that lasts for another 2 minutes, and then you find another bug, and then you have to go back to being stupid. Just those genius moments is enough to keep you going. That has nothing to do with really what this podcast episode's about. We're talking about choosing the right app. So how do you choose the right app? Well, I was going to give you a list of some of the app ideas that I had for this podcast and why I didn't choose them and why I chose the one that I ended up choosing. So the first one was like a fasting tracker. I've had this on my list for a few years now, but I think there's enough apps out there right now that do a really good job with it, even though I'd like to do it a little differently and a little more integrated with like a fasting tracker and food tracking. But there's a lot that gets involved there with trying to food databases and all that kind of stuff. And I really didn't want to mess with that. Also, I feel like I'm trackered out. Like I've made a weight tracker and a movie tracker in the past, and they're both still in the App Store. The movie tracker we're trying to move over because I partnered with a guy on that one. So we're trying to find a new developer for that. I believe he's found one. It's not, I'm just kind of all trackered out. So I didn't want to mess with the tracker. Another app on my list that I've had for also years is a grocery list app. So the thought process is like there's the AnyList app, and I like the way it does things, but I don't like everything about it, to where it does all these kind of like lists automatically based on your store. I think that's awesome. At the same time, there's some stuff that I'm like, the UI is not the best, and I think I could do way better on that side of things. Even though I'm not a designer, I don't like the way the UI is. But I also just mainly had a really fun name for it. I was going to call it Buggy, because I believe shopping carts in other parts of the countries are actually called buggies. And I just thought it would be hilarious because, I could say, yeah, my app's really buggy. That's basically the main reason for creating the app. Is I just wanted to have that, like, if somebody ever says, man, your app's so buggy. Oh, thanks, man. That's it. Yep, it's buggy. The one that I almost went with, and I still, like, to this day, is the number one app that I want to recreate, is a chore management app. If you don't know, I worked for a company called Chore Monster back in the past. I loved working for that company. I loved working on this app. It was the best because you got to create fun stuff for kids to play with, and then also to help out parents. And as a parent myself, like I could use this app. Like I've not found anything in the market that's anything like this, the way this app worked. And I want it to be back. I have some ideas on how to do it differently, how to do things that I think could be better. The problem with it is this app would be absolutely massive. Like we're talking huge. Like it would require so much to make this app possible. Because if you think about it, you have a parent, which is basically an admin, and then you have kids that are users under that admin. So I would have to create a system to where, because the parent, like the kids are going to forget their passwords all the time, and you want the parent to be able to change the kids' passwords and all this other stuff. And then there's like parents, like divided parents, and how to manage like the kids throughout different households. And it's just, I've thought long and hard, and I have a good structure for it. But this app is probably an app that would probably take me like a year at minimum to make. And I didn't think that was like the best way to start off this podcast, with an app that would take forever before anything submitted to the App Store. I feel like people would just get bored and move on, even though there was a lot of content to talk about through this app. And I do think one day, yeah, I will do this in this series, but I didn't feel like it was the best to start off. So the app that I ended up going with isn't an app that I think is going to do amazingly well in the store. I don't know how well it will do money wise. I'm not even sure the best way to monetize it yet. Whether I go like subscription, one-time payment, like in-app payment, get rid of ads, but I'm not really sure. Like my idea right now, I'm thinking like subscription and making it as cheap as possible, like $1 a year or $2 a year or something like that, because I don't really want to charge much for it anyway. So the app itself is basically like a quote book. There's already apps out there for this. There's a few things I want to do differently with it. So the way I see the app working is you have sections of quotes. So you have your motivational quotes, you have your funny quotes, you can have Bible verse quotes, where you can just store Bible verses, and maybe it will have like a structure to that, to where it has stuff built in to quickly and easily just add a Bible verse, because there's some Bible things that you can just download automatically and just have there, like King James Version, all these ones that aren't like publisher held onto copyright, whatever it is. But then the other one is like family quotes. And I really see like probably motivational can do it as well. But the family quote one I definitely see is, so it's a section, but it will have subsections in it. And those subsections will be actually family members, whether it's your father, your mother, your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband, however it goes. You can have all these subsections and just quotes. And the way this came to be is when my kids were younger and as they were growing up, and I still do it to this day because they're only 11 and 7. When they say something funny, like I used the Day One app in the past, and I would write it down, put the date that they said it, and based on that, I could see how old they are when they said it. And I really loved looking back at that, but Day One was not meant for something like that. Day One is like a journaling app. You can add tags and all this stuff to find them, but overall, it was just kind of more of a pain. So now I just use the Notes app. That's not any better at all. I really, like back then, I really wanted to create this app, and I thought, you know what, this would be a good app to start with, because I think I can get this done in like 3 months or less. Now, it could take more, because as developers, our timeline is always way off one way or the other, because we really can't estimate how many issues we're going to run into or anything like that. So it's hard. An estimation is nothing. This thing could take me a year. I don't think it's going to take me a year. I really think I can get it done in 3 months. Felt like that time frame for the first season of this podcast was way better, and just way better suited for something like this. But the app itself isn't just like a storage. I want it to do a little bit more than that. So I want to utilize notifications, have it to where like you can quickly go into the app and be like, I need some funny quotes today. And you can just go quickly and tap a thing, and then you're going to get notifications throughout the day of funny quotes that you've stored. Or maybe you have a widget, and then the widget is just going to be all the funny quotes, and it will just update every couple hours so that you can just see these funny quotes, just put you in a better mood. Same thing with motivation. If you're like, I need a little bit more motivation in this topic today, you can just go in quickly and say, give me these, and you get those. Other than that, like the family one is the one that really got me, where I want to be able to put in like family members' birthdays. And you can even do it like if they passed, and have like the day they passed, but then on those days, it will just automatically feed you these quotes throughout that day. So you don't have to do anything extra. You just automatically get these quotes. And I just think that would be perfect. Like on my kid's birthday, I'm getting all these quotes in the widget or in a notification, and it just reminds me of everything. And it can say like how old they are when they said it because you got their birthday on there, and you can put the day they said it. Normally, it would probably be just default to the day you write it, but you can modify it if it's a quote that they've said long ago. And that right there alone just excites me. And I want this app. I want something like this to be in the store. As a developer, I feel like it's my responsibility to build this app. Even if nobody else wants it, I want it so I can do it. And that's the great thing about development is especially something like this. It doesn't require any web backend. Like I'm just making it for iOS. I can just implement iCloud and CloudKit and all this other stuff so it can sync between devices. And maybe if I can figure it out, we can do some sharing with other family members, or you can even maybe just import and export if more people have it. Now, I don't really have a name for the app yet. Right now, I'm just calling it Recall, which is more memory side than motivational or quote side. The way I usually come up with names for my apps is I type in like the general things. Like I think for this one, I typed in quote. Basically, just go through a rabbit trail on thesaurus.com where I'm just looking up different things and different meanings and just going. And that's how I found Recall, but I'm not sold on it. So if you have any ideas, this is where early on in the stages that we can just come up with names together, and we'll do polls and we'll do all these things. And the person that wins and helps me with the name, I want to have, maybe if you're fine with it, your name in like an acknowledgement page of the app. And there will be other ways to get in this page with like helping with the design and all that kind of stuff, because I want you guys involved in building this app through whatever stages, whatever ideas that you may have. And I want to give you credit for it. I don't want to really do a Patreon or anything like that. Be like, hey, if you give me this much money, you can come in and I'll put your name in the app. I thought about that, obviously, since it's something I'm talking about right now. I really don't like that. And I'd really rather do something differently, and something to where if you add to the app, you get added to the app. And I think that's way better. So, I mean, even though money wise, you're helping fund it, you're basically like an investor of the app. So maybe it would work, but I don't really like that. But let me know what your thoughts are. Just give me a comment down below, and just, if you have an idea for a name, you can comment that or whatever. Like, let's get this started because I am excited. I cannot wait to make this app a reality. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to just go through the process of this together. But I hope you guys have a great week. And also remember, the Tuesdays that a podcast doesn't come out, I live stream. So you can actually see me start on this app and start working on this app. Hope you guys have a great one. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.